What up, YouTube? It's your boy Banks. And we back in the building, you feel me? It's True Talks. Cause True Talks, alright? Let's get straight right into it. Bruh, so we have breaking news. Oh, bruh. This is more than breaking news. This is actually crazy. Already, this is 8 games, 9 games, 11 games in, 12 games in, and we already have a blockbuster trade. Obviously, it originally started as a 3-team deal. Now it became a 4-team deal, basically, because, the Rockets flipped it again with Indiana. But we're going to talk about all the pieces in the trade and just my thoughts about this trade overall, in the grand scheme. So we're definitely going to go straight right into it. And, you already know, bruh, let's go into that context, because I give you that context, bruh. Man, I'm gonna give my thoughts about what I think, the actual play going on here, or when it actually started, because I think there's something way, way bigger, deeper than that. That's just, I don't want to believe it, but just something's telling me that something, I'm gonna go into it. You'll understand when I talk about it later. Let me not start over there. Let me start basically with just the trade. I know some of y'all haven't heard, and if y'all haven't heard, I'm basically just going to go into the details. Some of y'all just know, Harden is traded and don't know the actual details, right? So I'm going to go into the full details. So basically, Harden, you already know, context was last night. It's just they got slapped by the Lakers. Harden is just unhappy. Press conferences. Harden is basically saying, I'm tired of this shit. You know what I'm saying? Vocally saying it. I just unhappy. We can't fix this. Stop this. John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins are just unhappy with how he's acted. And just this is just only 9 games and all this type of stuff is going on. So when you look at it from that perspective, it's just, it's difficult for Houston to just continue this way. They thought they tried their best, get John Wall, do all of this, and then let's see what could happen. And James Harden just enough, yo. I'm just tired of this shit. Just coming there, maybe, eating a 1-2 extra more, just not even caring. And they could just see it. And it's just Maury's gone. D'Antoni's gone. Westbrook is gone. Covington is gone. You know what I mean? So it's James Harden's yo, I've done all I can. And I can understand that perspective. And obviously James Harden is a professional. If you know, throughout his last how many seasons, he's played almost all 82 all the time, right? Injured, not injured, he's always been playing. Obviously, now he has had special treatment that maybe Westbrook and some of them didn't like. But that's a lot of these players, man. You're hearing stuff about Kawhi, hearing stuff about LeBron, but at the end of the day, he's there. He's there. And he's not only just there, he's MVP caliber when he's there. You know what I'm saying? So I don't even buy into all of that fugaziness. I already know they're just doing that now because obviously it's just get him out of here. It's just deploying right before our eyes, right? So obviously he took this approach of I'm just going to create turmoil. I'm going to create havoc so I can just get myself out of here because I've had it. You know what I'm saying? So that's what happened with James Harden. And that's understood, especially with this new NBA. That's nothing new. Everybody does that, create turmoil, demand a trade, do whatever the case is when you're unhappy and everything just going to the wayside, right? And Harden he's been sticking it through Chris Paul, through thing, and he's been part of the issue. But the reason why I will give James Harden the benefit of the doubt before I even talk about the trade is because James Harden has been playing a play style as a necessity. He didn't play this just stand there, 5-out offense and dribble. He didn't start off doing that. He obviously, if you follow James Harden's trajectory from when he left OKC, he started off playing normal, especially when Dwight Howard was there. He played normal, did pick and roll. Chandler Parsons was there. All of them was there, and he was still eating, right? He was still an MVP runner-up for how many years? He's been MVP conversation for the longest time. I don't even remember someone who's been an MVP candidate for that long, maybe other than Jordan. He's been an MVP candidate and runner-up in every single year, basically, for the last 5-6 years. It's actually reckless. It's actually right. You can't even remember the time James Harden hasn't been an MVP candidate. And this has been in all different types of offenses. First was the one with Dwight Howard, right, that you've seen him in. And Dwight Howard is a big doing the pick and roll, getting Dwight Howard some love, Chandler Parsons, all of these guys, right? And then after that, you've seen him in the other offense when now they got Capella, right? Capella started to emerge. They got Capella, and he was in that offense. They even had, what's his name? Terrence Jones, too. Remember, y'all forget that. That was ball handling, and he was eating. all that type of stuff. Like he played there, right? And James Harden, and just he played through all of that. Then Capella came and played through all of that. And then obviously they got the Chris Paul. They did the Chris Paul trade, right? To have a dynamic duo. But the problem was that Chris Paul did get injured and they needed to stay afloat. And then that's when they shift a lot of things, right? That's when now they did this whole Harden. His usage rate skyrocketed, and he did that whole average 40 every game, 50, and all that type of stuff. And Capella was still there, and it was pick and roll, or it was just him cooking step back and the double step back. And that's when that emerged. And that was because Chris Paul was injured, and then they were skyrocketing, pun intended, and we're winning. So when you look at it from that perspective, James Harden has had to change play styles due to necessity, you know, at that time. And now when you now have been winning and this been successful, you can't tell a guy to, no, change back to this. Chris Paul's coming back. What are you talking about? We even won more than we did with Chris Paul without him in terms of this new offense that we've been running. It's hard. So now he's obviously trying to change it. And I'm not saying it's not James Harden's fault at all. I understand, because him standing at half court, I actually hated that shit when he doesn't have the ball, all of that type of stuff. But it's a mixture of Harden, right? Chris Paul being injured, and out of necessity, D'Antoni and them telling him, yo, let's go like this. Let's play like this. Morey, D'Antoni and them all doing that. So when you look at it from that perspective, you know what I mean? A part of it is Harden, but a part of it is necessity, you know, play style wise. And then it's hard to reel it back. And then obviously now they traded Chris Paul because it's like, okay, who's the issue? And obviously we already know Chris Paul's not fully the issue. So now Westbrook comes, doesn't work as well. They even now said, you know what, to nice Westbrook, and to make this work even better, let's just throw away the center, throw away Capella, and go all small ball. You know what I'm saying? Still didn't work. Exit second round in the playoffs. So when you look at it from that perspective, Harden has been the common denominator, but also has been the common denominator has been D'Antoni as well, and Morey as well, doing this evolution type of offense, evolution type of upgrade, and all that type of stuff. So Harden before that was doing mid-range. He was playing a whole different style. So not that Harden isn't absolved of anything, but he's not 100% the problem. That's just the perspective I'm giving. Only way I could say he's 100% the problem is now if he's in Brooklyn and he's doing the exact same type of offense with different guys. Elite KD, Kyrie. You know what I'm saying? So that's where now I'm still, the jury's out on if it's fully 100% Harden, which I could subscribe because I've seen him in OKC. I've seen too many different types of Hardens for me to say that was only 100% Harden. I'm just playing devil's advocate and playing just the perspective and actually what's transpiring and context, right? So when I look at it from that perspective, and it's not that it's 50% Harden. It's not like it's not a big part of Harden, but it's just that I won't subscribe to, oh, it's all Harden, it's all Harden. I will never do that when I see what's happening before my eyes, right? So now obviously that's the context. So now Harden is just tired of everything, and obviously he wants out. So now let's go into the trade that happened today. Blockbuster news, you know what I mean? And breaking news. And let's see all the pieces that happen and everything that's been moved. All right. So we go and we look. Basically, the full trade is the Rockets. So now basically they did a 3-team trade for Harden. And then after that, the Rockets did flip and add into the package Oladipo for Karis LeVert and some other picks. Right. So they flipped it. So we're going to go into the full everything what all teams get, right? The full trade, because it's still basically one big trade, right? So the Rockets will receive Victor Oladipo, Dante Exum, Rodions Kurucs, 3 first-round picks. Sorry, I lied. 4 first-round picks, 3 from Brooklyn, 1 from Milwaukee, all right? And then also another, and 4 first-round swaps, all right? And that's all from Brooklyn, all right? And then the Nets will receive James Harden. Okay. The Pacers will receive Karis LeVert and a 2nd-round pick. And the Cavs will receive Jared Allen and Taurean Prince. Man, how it sucks to be Jared Allen and Taurean Prince. You're on a championship caliber team and you're with the Cavs. Blood clots. Like that's crazy. But anyways, basically, when you look at it from that perspective, we're going to look at the Rocket side of things first, okay? The Rocket side of things, I understand why they didn't want to keep LeVert, because LeVert has a long-term contract. So the Rockets don't know if they want to blow this shit up yet or if they don't want to blow this shit up yet. So when they get LeVert and Oladipo are similar type of players, like LeVert on his own could potentially be an all-star, explode to what Oladipo was that 1 year, right? It's about contract for them. They're looking at it as, yo, we just lost Westbrook. We just lost James Harden within the span of one offseason / 1 year. So when you already lose your two, you're automatically looking at like, I'm trying to rebuild. Obviously, if we win, but I'm still trying to look like rebuild in terms of the pieces I have. Younger thoroughbreds, less contracts for long term, all that type of stuff. Similar to OKC. Get bare picks. They're kind of following the OKC blueprint, which is why they're like, if we're not going to trade Harden for like bare pieces in terms of caliber talent, let's at least get bare picks, right? Bare picks. So that's what they're trying to do clearly. So they got 8 picks, right? For first round swaps, and then for actually first rounders, right? So they got 8 picks total plus Oladipo, Exum, Karooks. So when you look at it from that perspective, the reason why they're taking Oladipo instead of Caris LeVert is because they're like, yo, Caris LeVert he has a long contract, like what, 3-4 years? He's a long-term contract. We don't know if we want to blow this shit up, right? Oladipo is going to be a free agent next year, right? So they could see how it works this year. And then if it doesn't work, they don't have to re-sign him. They got picks out of it and they could just blow this shit up. So it's kind of like short-term / long-term because they flip LeVert for more picks, right? So you're handling both at the same time because you don't want it to be long-term into you don't want to have long-term and buy into long-term uncertainty, right? You want to have a way out. So that's kind of, I could see what the Rockets are doing, basically following OKC blueprint, right? In terms of the Pacers did a great job because if you look at it, Oladipo signing, as much as he's saying he's signing the Pacers forever, you already know I don't really believe that shit, right? You know what I'm saying? Obviously, a lot of us don't believe that shit because that's what PG did. That's a lot of these players have done that. You've seen Kyrie do that, and then things change, right? Things change. You already know Oladipo wants to revive himself. So him locking in with the Indiana Pacers, or he just wants to be in a winning situation, like on the forefront. Obviously, Pacers are in a great situation in terms of mediocre to top tier in the East. That's the kind of their potential always. But it's not like they're just leaving the East, right? So they have Sabonis, they have Turner, they have Brogdon all in, pretty locked in for a decent amount of time. So now if you get LeVert, that's guaranteed you have a solid core for a decent amount of time, and you could upgrade the auxiliary parts, right? You could upgrade them however you see fit, but at least your solid 4 core, that's a solid, like Brogdon, LeVert, Turner, and Sabonis. Actually, Turner might be up very shortly, but Sabonis, Brogdon, and LeVert is long term. So when you look at it from that perspective, like it kind of fits. LeVert kind of still is under the radar, but could maybe get higher than Oladipo or get as high as Oladipo was. Oladipo has been injured, so you don't know with the kind of, he needs more time. You don't know where he kind of fits now, right? So LeVert is someone who just is waiting to explode. So this is actually a bounce back for them from uncertainty to just basically, it's like getting a new Oladipo. That's basically what they're getting. You see how when they got Oladipo back then, right? When they got Oladipo and Sabonis, Oladipo was waiting to emerge and, just explode off the scene. Oladipo, they got that with him, and that's why Indiana became like, oh my God, like Indiana could be a threat. But then, unfortunately, he got a scary injury and tore his whole kneecap, right? So then that just derailed things and just changed everything. So now they basically got a new version of Oladipo, healthy wise, in terms of health and in terms of, let's try this again. So I could understand the Pacers going for LeVert, you know what I'm saying, and giving up all of those first round because they're like, yo, Sabonis has emerged even better than what we thought. You know what I mean? Turner is still there, and you have Brogdon. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they have pieces. You still have TJ Warren. Don't get it twisted. Like, they're actually a solid team, right? And they're just getting better and better and better. So let's not break it up and let's just increase. So I can get it. I get it, right? And this is perfect for LeVert. LeVert's looking for an all-star, superstar emergence. And he hasn't been able to do that because when he has been doing that, then there's Dinwiddie, so we share, right? Now I'm about to do it, oh, blast. Then there's Kyrie, so we share. Okay, Kyrie's out, I'm about to do it. Oh, then there's KD, so we share. You know what I'm saying? And then it's like, he's always getting someone else higher than him. He has to share with and basically sacrifice, and his usage gets sus. So I get that from the Pacers, and this is a great for the Pacers. Great bounce back, especially for the Rockets out of what they were probably offered. this is probably a great bounce back. They're actually doing the OKC route because it's not just you can get talent all you want, but if you get talent that's now going to be unhappy as well too, it cancels out. Remember, you got to understand what you currently have, and does that what you're getting mesh with what you currently have? Are they going to be happy? You already have a point guard in John Wall. You get in a Ben Simmons and all that type of stuff, and you still have John Wall you're stuck with. Remember, John Wall has a long-term contract. You know what I'm saying? At least 2 more years or whatever it is. I didn't do my research. I mean, I'm just making this video real quick. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't go into this just happened ASAP. You know what I'm saying? So John Wall is a couple years minimum. So when you look at it from that perspective, are you really going to bring a talent who has same amount of years, maybe as John Wall, maybe a little bit more, and they might be the same frustration like Harden is in? And remember, at any time, a player could just be like, I don't like this shit. Like, this is the new NBA. A player could just demand trade and just create turmoil and do the James Harden stuff all over again. So you don't want to, the best bet is not obviously in the grand scheme, like in the moment, oh my God, only picks for Harden. Harden is an MVP caliber player. You probably won't replace him in those picks. But you have to look at the grand scheme of things. You know what I'm saying? You have to look at what you're actually being offered for James Harden. If you're offered a lower tier talent than James Harden, you still will never win the trade. The best way to win the trade, if you actually look at it, is actually getting top tier picks, top tier talent, doing what OKC did. And in the future, in the long run, just being smart with how you pick of the best available players and doing this, or maybe flipping those players for another player. Like, you could always flip out picks. You could always trade and get another player. You could always, in the long term, change the direction of how you move. And in the long term, 5 years, 6 years, you'll see how it all pans out. So you can't just want to trade for equivalent value. You will never ever get equivalent value for like a KD, a James Harden, a superstar caliber player. You never will. That's why a lot of the times you see it goes the other way, where they have a player, they don't trade him, and then eventually he leaves for nothing, because it's the thought of even just trading that person and getting equivalent value is like, that's never going to happen. So then now you get low tier value, and then, you know, still get better getting something better than nothing. But sometimes you're always stuck in, I just hope maybe he can just re-sign. Why would I trade him and just, like, it's not sure he's not going to re-sign. He might re-sign. Let's just have hope, you know, and then you lose him for nothing. So at least you get picks. At least you get picks. You get a Oladipo. Maybe it works. You still, you know what I mean? You don't know. But the Rockets did pretty decent. They bounced back from what this could have been a terrible trade. You know what I mean? It could have been a terrible trade. Could have been a terrible trade. Obviously, people were saying, oh, they just should have done, you know, the Jared Allen, the Taurean Prince, the Karis LeVert, Karuk, all these guys just for Harden. You know what I mean? You could have, but those are just, it's like you're trading role players just for Harden. I rather, to be honest, I rather the picks. I could maybe get star talent in those picks. I rather the picks, to be honest, than just Jared Allen, Taurean Prince, and Karis LeVert. I rather the picks. I rather the picks plus a Karis LeVert player and Oladipo. I rather the picks, to be honest. That's 8 picks. Come on, I rather the picks than all of that, to be honest. So now we passed that. The Rockets did slightly bounce back. I'll give them maybe like a 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10. I'll give them more so an 8 out of 10 based off of the situation. They did really good for the situation. So I'll boost that to an 8, because they could have just did just players. And then it's like, what, really? It's like, really? You know what I'm saying? Really? What are we doing here? So we look at that from the Rockets and Pacers side. They did pretty good. So we look at from the Cavs. The Cavs, I don't honestly know what they're doing. Maybe Jared Allen is just in case like Drummond leaves next year, because Drummond is just trying to get buckets and do good and rebound and whatever, just to improve his value so he can get the same type of contract, because he's a free agent next year is his contract year. He probably won't stay. You know what I'm saying? So maybe Jared Allen is insurance policy, right? He's going to be their center for the future. You know, Taurean Prince is obviously just, you know, role player, whatever the case is, because they do have a decent quarter starting to build, especially with Sexland. Well, you know, with Colin Sexton and Darius Garland, you know what I'm saying? Then you have the new rookie coming in there too, Okogo, or I forgot how to say his name. We have him as well too. Like they're building something, right? So when you look at it from that perspective, it's just the Cavs. Like the Cavs are just, I mean, you're just adding yourself as part of the trade. You know what I mean? You're just throwing yourself in there, getting a 1-2 piece. So the Cavs did pretty good. Now, when we look at it just from the Nets perspective, man, This one's a tough one. I got a lot to say about the Nets. So I'm gonna try and, not make this too long, but try and just go in depth as much as I can. All right. So when we look at the Nets now have a big three of Kyrie, James Harden, and KD, right? And then they'll probably have Joe Harris in the starting lineup as well as DeAndre Jordan. Now, before I even talk about the big three and just James Harden factor, their bench is now going to be scarce. It's going to be really limited. You know what I'm saying? They're going to be more top heavy, which the most championship teams are actually top heavy when you look at it from that, when we look at it from that perspective. I expect the Nets to get some free agents, maybe a Shumpert. I expect them to they're not just going to live like this. They're going to have to do some soul searching into what the market, there's guys out there, right? They're going to have to do some soul searching. I know that they're going to do that. But when you just look at the big man, they're probably going to do it in terms of a big as well too. But when you look at it Jarrett Allen and DeAndre Jordan, I made a mistake in my earlier videos. I was saying DeAndre Jordan is supposed to be the positioning, all of that type of stuff. That's cap. That was all cap, and I apologize for the cap. I'm rarely wrong, but when I'm wrong, I admit to it. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, Jarrett Allen has outperformed DeAndre Jordan 10 times this year already. Obviously, it's early, but they outperformed him hella. He outperformed him hella. And a part of me, DeAndre Jordan, the way he was playing was so fugazi that it's hard for me to believe that was actually true. I feel like it was all cap. I feel like there's a play here the whole time. So I'm gonna talk about it later on, a bit later. Just let me explain, and you'll see it come full circle. Jarrett Allen was eating, going to work, snapping, he was doing all of it. Got elevated to the starting lineup, and he was eating. He actually was part of some of their wins. He was eating and doing really well. You know what I'm saying? But then, now when you look at it, right? Karis LeVert was struggling, but did better when Kyrie was out. Remember, there's no Dinwiddie. If Dinwiddie was there, maybe this would obviously wouldn't be as bad, but there's no Dinwiddie, at least for this year. You know what I'm saying? And also, too, the Kyrie Irving saga. We don't know what's going on with Kyrie. I'm not going to speak too much in depth about it. If y'all follow me on Twitter, I've already talked about it. Kyrie Irving, I don't know what's fully going on. I don't want to speak and say something that's so fugazi because it's untrue. I have to wait. I don't just speak based off what media tells me, right? I need more to play out, and then I could use my own IQ and dive into what's cap and what's actually true. I know Kyrie has been doing a lot of, dealing with social injustices and giving back and doing a lot of real work that most people aren't doing. Giving to the WNBA community, right, with the players and actually giving some salary and helping them boost it. You know what I'm saying? He's been doing a lot of these things giving meals, you know what I'm saying? Doing, again, more money, giving to a scholarship, funding scholarships or whatever the case is, funding actual lower tier people in terms of the black community from HBCUs, funding them and giving them actual scholarships and whatever the case is, just helping their schooling. So I'm looking at him actually taking money and he's actually doing what these guys have just been talking about doing. He's actually letting his actions speak louder than words behind the scenes. And I'm seeing it. So he's doing a lot of great things. So now with the Capitol happening, all of a sudden with the Capitol issue happening, right, with the whole the Trump supporters storming the Capitol and all that type of stuff, now all of a sudden he stopped playing. And I don't know if, I'm not gonna speak on it, I don't know if this is this is part of the play, a bigger picture, because again, how could you know that the Capitol was gonna happen, right? So it's I could believe where it's a play, but I can also snap out of it. I'm nah, it's not a play. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm seeing the Capitol happening, and then all of a sudden Kyrie stops playing, or whatever the case. He's maybe he's fed up and he's cheesed. You know what I'm saying? And he's willing to just sacrifice it all and just not, because he's already said he's willing to. So I don't know what's fully going on. Then you're also seeing, images of him or pictures of him in Zoom calls with actual discussing, social injustices and whatever the case is, while the Nets have a game in 30 minutes, stuff like that. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know. Maybe he's just taking a break to just do that and then come back. I don't know if he's just fully doing it or he's just going to eventually be out. So if that is the worst case scenario where Kyrie Irving is just I'm out and I'm done, basketball, he tweeted before, I might be the Lauryn Hill. From one of his close friends said I might be the Lauryn Hill of the NBA, which means I exit the NBA before my prime, because he's only 28. He literally just entered his prime. And if he does leave the NBA, which is unfortunate, I would never want to see that. But I can understand and I can see that, like, I'm never going to knock a guy for, like, putting his money where his mouth is in terms of the social injustices and actually trying to change something. Just like Colin Kaepernick. Like, he might just be that. And if he ends up being that, then you have to look at it from the next perspective. Maybe James Harden is the duo with KD, and actually the insurance policy is one of the best insurance policies you can ever get in terms of James Harden. All right? Maybe that's what's going on here. I don't know. I'm not behind the scenes, so I have to wait for more to come out. But if that's the case, then this trade is even more of a plus than the big three that we think is going to happen, right? I'll talk about that later. But that's more so of a plus because you get more similar James Harden and more similar KD, especially KD's resurgence. You see he's averaging 30 points per game, 53, 54% shooting, you know what I'm saying? 45% shooting from the field, you know what I'm saying? Almost 8 rebounds and 6 assists. Like, he off an Achilles tear, averaging 30, and y'all try to talk? Like, I don't want to see that digress, to be honest. I'm being selfish. I want to see him keep going up and keep, like, shut up the haters. I want him to thrive. But will that lead to a championship with that current roster and just how they were moving? Right now, you would think most likely not, but it's too early. It's too early. You know what I'm saying? It's too early for me to even say anything. It's too early. With Kyrie and all of them, and even with them when he injured, I still feel that they were able to get out the East. I still feel like that. They're only 11 games in, whatever, 6-6, 12 games in. It's too early for me to just react to 6-6. If you look at even LeBron's teams with a big three that got out the East and won rings, they were fugazi to start in the first 10 games, first 8 games, first 9. Like, come on now. You have to be under, especially in a brand new team. Like, I'm not going to overreact to that and say they're probably not getting out the East. Like, I'm not, that's just cap. That's just cap. You know what I'm saying? So maybe in the grand scheme, KD decreasing his production again, maybe, you know what I mean? And going to 26, 25 PPG, more efficiency and whatever the case is. If without getting on Harden and getting the big three, similar to maybe Golden State, maybe that does elevate the team to guaranteed go further. But at the end of the day, you still have to play defense. You still have to have rim protection, all that type of stuff. Like, I don't know fully. Like, it's hard to say how this Nets team, it's hard to evaluate if it's a win-win hella or if it's a lose or if it's mediocre because there's too many unanswered questions. There's too much uncertainty with the roster in terms of with the Kyrie factor, right? Which I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to speak too much in depth about that. But if, let's say, it stays the way it is, okay, how do we move, right? Let's say he comes back, okay, how do we move with now the trio? How do we move? Like, how does it work? How does it work? Is Harden going to actually play a different play style, right? Is Harden going to stick to the D'Antoni offense? I think he's not. Because I think he was doing that at a necessity, like I said, but I will never know until I see him in this situation. But if I had to assume, I think Harden is willing to play a different role because he's done all the accolades he's done. He's averaged 35. He's done all of it. At this point, I know he wants to win a ring. That's clearly why he's saying, I'm fed up. I'm not doing it here in Houston. I'm past that. This is like, I'm getting older. Like, I'm at that point. I made all the money. This is why I'm not buying that. I'm not signing at 50 something. The 50 mil is not about the money no more. The extension, right? He declined it. So when I look at it from that perspective, I could see Harden moving more closer to an OKC Harden, obviously a higher tier version of it, because I don't expect him to come off the bench, but you never know. Nash might say, come off the bench, but I don't. That's disrespectful. He's not going to do that. But I can see him playing more off the ball, coming off a 1-2 down screen. Maybe even doing mid-post touches, pick and roll with KD. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could see more movement, more, okay, stand at 3-point line when you don't have the ball, more catch and shoot, all that type of stuff. I could see that even, let's say, with Kyrie over and being there. Kyrie might get sus more out of it because Kyrie wanted to elevate his game and all that type of stuff. I don't know, like, it's hard for me to kind of give a full IQ assessment because I don't know the mentality of these guys. You will never know the mentality of the guys if you really think about it because I don't know them personally, but based off of their actions, based off of like the play, I put myself in their shoes, and that's why you see me have IQ because I can match the mentality and I can see where they're coming from. Obviously, I'm not them, but as a hooper in that situation with that kind of caliber of play, I could see where the thinking and the line of thinking will go. So I try to put myself in their shoes, and it's hard for me to put myself in their shoes right now because I don't know what's going. Like there's too much uncertainty. You know what I'm saying? So I know some of y'all came here for some clarity, but this is a situation where it's hard for me to be clear. I can still give you that IQ because that's what I do, which I'm trying to do, but complete clarity of what is going to happen is hard. That's why as more time goes on and plays, I'll still keep doing videos, but what I'm here to say and give clarity of what I think might have happened. I don't want to, put this out there and act like this is what actually happened. But I'm just using my IQ and it's just hard for me to believe anything one way. It's too many. I'm believing different routes right now with this team. You know what I'm saying? Right now, I do think a part of me, not the full, but a part of me is thinking, how could DeAndre Jordan look this fugazi? You know what I'm saying? Kyrie Irving just stopping. Like, there's so many things happening. I'm like, the Nets were there when all of a sudden Harden said he wanted out. And Harden was with them, was with Kyrie and KD. He was with them in Cali. He was at those runs. So did they actually, Kyrie and KD actually talk to Harden? And did they, because this is what they did before. We didn't, me and Kyrie never talked. KD and Kyrie did this. Me never talked. Shut down the meeting, just close it up, shut it up. And then all of a sudden they both go to the Nets, right? With DeAndre. So maybe those three are in it where it's like, Harden, you want to come through? We could do this because Harden's saying he wants to come through. And they're saying maybe, you know what? We'll deny it at first, but throughout the year, DeAndre Jordan, I'm going to play anus. I'm going to be unplayable. Jared Allen's going to get more minutes and he's going to snap. His trade stock rises. You know what I'm saying? Karis LeVert is going to snap. Obviously, they didn't know then when he's going to get injured. But Kyrie's I'm going to not play for a 1-2. You know what I mean? I'll sacrifice a 1-2, Brad. Karis LeVert probably going to snap. And his trade stock is going to rise because they're saying they want KD and Kyrie for the trade. That's what they want? No. We'll find a way to kibosh that. We'll find a way to avoid that. We'll stop playing. Well, they didn't know. KD didn't know he was going to stop playing. But, you know what I mean? Kyrie will stop playing and then we'll make sure LeVert's stock rises. We'll make sure Allen's stock rises. And then all of a sudden, boom. Once the minute it rises. Trade. Literally 2 games. He dropped 40. One time he dropped 40. Like, okay, nah. Let's trade for this guy. Allen's rise. Let's trade for this guy. The Houston loses OD. Enough is enough. Just do the trade, man. Like, and I think part of me is saying, this was a plan all along. These mans are doing the Kawhi and forcing away. They're working behind the scenes and forcing away. This was a play all along. Like, if Kyrie comes back all of a sudden and he's blessed like nothing happened, come on, this has to be a play. But I'm not ever going to subscribe to Kyrie doing that because I know, like, let me rephrase my thinking or rephrase how I word it. Kyrie is not pump faking his philanthropy work. He's not pump faking his social injustice work. He's doing that always. But maybe he could just be like, you know what? To nice LeVert and we're going to nice the stock. I will take this time to just go ahead and just put my head down and do some work that I wanted to do that I can't do because of games. I'm just going to go ahead and do that while y'all get this trade right. So maybe it's not like he's actually dealing with something OD or whatever. He's just saying, I don't want to play. I'm not answering to me. He's just, playing the role and he's just going ahead and doing his 1-2 thing. So then when you look at turmoil with the Nets, right? You look at turmoil with the Houston at the same time. Houston, we don't want Kyrie because if he's playing well and they want to do the trade, the management, remember, you got to look at it from this perspective. Management and the players, obviously they try and work together, but the management, oversees everything. They at the end of the day, it's their decision. As much as they could tell you, we will never trade Kyrie and KD. You never know. If Kyrie's stock rises, he's dropping 40s like he was. And it's like, the Nets, like, we're offering this, the Rockets want, just buy into the trade. We'll trade it. You know what I mean? You never know if they're just going to throw in Kyrie. You never know. Like, you never know. I'm just showing y'all just how it works. You never know. So I know they don't believe and trust in that. Now this is what the NBA has become. Man's taking to matters their own hand. They take matters into their own hand at all times now. They don't believe nobody. They don't, I'm going to put it in your hands. And like, it's a lot of cap is happening. And it's always been like that. So that's the NBA has, because of the LeBron movement, how we started that, NBA players take matters into their own hands at all times now. So when you look at it from that perspective, I could see that Kyrie's like, you know what, I'm going to take this time to do work I've always wanted to do during the season. So I'm going to do that for this 1 week, whatever. You know what I mean? I'm going to go do that. Harden, do what you do, create your turmoil. KD, just play ball. You already know it doesn't matter, right? The more you play ball, the more it's like, okay, we need to do something, whatever. And you play with LeVert and LeVert, let him go to work. DeAndre Jordan, you just play anus, get benched, right? And then Allen, and once Allen and LeVert are the main two pieces. Everyone else, whatever. But Allen and LeVert are the main two pieces. And maybe that's something they just talked about somewhat beforehand, or they just all of a sudden talked about after Dinwiddie went down and they were losing a little bit and they got fed up. Like I could see KD fed up with like a lot of the way these man's role players are moving. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know. I'm just saying maybe it might be a play behind the scenes. I will never fully say it like it's 100% guaranteed. Just a part of me is thinking about it. I'm just thinking about like, yo, that would have been IQ if they actually did that. If they wanted to force his way out, force this trade to happen, because you already know Harden out of all the teams wants to mainly go to the Nets. So obviously him saying other teams is like, in case it doesn't happen, at least I go here and here and here. But like, I mainly want to go to the Nets. So I could see him doing things and them working together to force that to happen. And this is just my brain just like, yo, DeAndre Jordan don't look this bad. And then look, it's funny. Now DeAndre actually ends up getting a starting 5 roster where it's guaranteed he's starting. No matter how bad he plays, no matter what happens, there's no Jared Allen to threaten his minutes, and even gets more minutes now. Like back to like his Clippers days, because the threat is now gone. So maybe even Jordan was like, yo, I'm a sacrifice. You know what I mean? I'm a sacrifice and play 1-2. I benefit from Allen leaving, to be honest. So let's do this, boy. Like, you know what I mean? Like maybe that's like, I don't know. I'm just trying to give that IQ because that's what I do. Maybe that's, part of what happened. I can see so many guys, this positives on everybody's end, obviously except for Kyrie, but you already know Kyrie wants to obviously go to the finals as well too. So, maybe Kyrie is okay with it. I don't know. There's some things where it makes it seem like it's IQ, but in some things where it contradicts what I'm saying. So I'm like, you know what? That's why I don't fully believe it fully. You know what I'm saying? I'm just giving an assumption and thinking, part of me thinks that it could be that. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe when Kyrie just decided to go off the grid, maybe now they talked and then this is what we do. Right? I don't know. I don't know, man. So this trade is just, honestly, if Kyrie comes back, I just have to see his mentality coming back, and then I could see, how it plays out. But if I have to look the best case scenario for this Nets team, like, people have issues with being top heavy and all that type of stuff. That's not my issue, because at the end of the day, those guys have played the bulk of the minutes and it don't matter. Obviously, your bench plays maybe 4 minutes without you, whatever. But even then, one of those 3 is going to be in at all times now. So that's what people aren't thinking about. They're not thinking about the staggering. Before, it was Karis LeVert. They actually took Kyrie and KD out, Karis LeVert. If you take Kyrie and KD out, it's Harden. That's elite. Like, what are we talking about? That's Harden. That's elite. So when you look at it from that perspective, the best case scenario is elite. The worst case scenario is still more elite than the scenario that they kind of were in anyways. If you look at just the win in right now or the roster right now. Because the worst case scenario is if Kyrie doesn't even come back, you still have James Harden and KD. It's a great insurance policy. Your bench now matters more when you only have the 2, but you can still stagger the minutes. You know what I'm saying? You can still stagger the minutes. You can find somebody, you can, sign somebody, and make a 1-2, Michael Beasley's still there, Jamal Crawford, or you can sign a Shumpert. There's guys who are still there, the defenders, You never know, man. Like, it's just hard to kind of give a full conclusion of everything because there's so much uncertainty. But best case scenario, this is hella elite. But we still don't know if that hella elite could actually be revisited or actually be a goal that could be accessed, because I don't know what Harden we get in. I don't know what Kyrie we get in. I don't know if we get in a Kyrie, right? I don't know if Harden is going to be like, I'm a playoff ball too. Like, I don't know, man. So it's hard to tell. But at the end of the day, it's True Talks, because True Talks. Share, like, and subscribe. I try to get my IQ. That's what I do. But at the end of the day, the one common denominator through all of this is that KD been eating. KD back. I haven't heard a lot of y'all say it. I haven't heard a lot of y'all been talking about it. KD, the best player in the league, is back. Go look at the numbers. Go look at what he's doing. How could someone be this elite, have this much arsenal, and shoot this efficient as a guy who just does layups? And y'all don't look at it and be like, yo, he's like, this is the best guy. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. And he's not playmaking and rebounding, and has defense, but turnover has been an issue for KD. You got to fix that, though. You got to fix that. And he's not even fully integrated with the rust and the game fatigue. It's 8 games. 8 games off of an Achilles injury. 8 games, averaging 30. Yo. Oh, I love it, man. I love it, man. Anyways, it's True Talks. It's True Talks. You already know. Share, like, and subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. You already know, man. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. There's gonna be more information coming out now soon. You know, Kyrie. I'm gonna do more videos. You already know. There's gonna be more information coming out. You already know, man. And I'm out, man.